Disco Elysium is the greatest video game I've never played. And not only that, it's the greatest game I've never played that has a title that I most have no idea what it means. Disco seems straightforward enough. Disco is, of course, that music and dance genre from the 70s, but has over the years since come to represent a general sense of kitschy, flamboyant coolness, often served with sparkles. And in classical mythology, Elysium was the home of the blessed after death, so like the Christian concept of heaven, or the Caleb concept of that amazing red chair back there. Look at it, it's glorious! And no, I'm not trying to say that sitting in that chair is heavenly. You're skipping the analogy here. I'm saying that when I die, should I have lived a blessed life, I want someone to just leave my corpse in that chair for all eternity. And I want that somebody to be like really into it, you know, like someone who loves posing dead bodies but isn't in the weird shaped coffin industry, like a hobbyist dead body toucher. I just know there's got to be someone out there who wants the opportunity to touch a dead body but has never been given the chance because society would question where the person found the dead body, and oh boy, here come the bureaucrats to scrutinize all the paperwork, making sure all the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted and all the quotation marks are used correctly. But anyway, to bring us back to the topic of this video, I guess you can go ahead and sprinkle some glitter on my dead body. That's Disco Elysium, as far as I know. Before I go any further, please consider subscribing to this channel. I make weekly-ish videos about video games, including reviews, humorous skits, opinion pieces, and thought pieces, sometimes like this very video. Now, I was interested in Disco Elysium when I first started hearing about it when it was released in October of 2019. Nothing of this game really spoke to my known interests, though. I'm not a computer role-playing gamer. I don't play Dungeons & Dragons. The idea of random dice roll chance determining progress in a video game scares me. I don't even like disco music or disco dancing, but the way people spoke of this game was unlike any other discourse I've ever creepily paid attention to from outside the bedroom window. I mean, people were excited about the writing, about the game's text, and I loved that. They're having textual discourse in there. I can't think of any game whose public awareness was so dominated by discussions of deep, branching, and satisfying stories. Of course, many games lead with story, specifically visual novels and emotional indie experiences like What Remains of Edith Finch, my personal favorite video game of all time. But the conversations around Disco Elysium felt different. There was an energy there that other story-focused games didn't have. As of today, March 29th, I have never played Disco Elysium, so anything I say about it is based on game footage and the aforementioned discourse, and of course, my hype that I've allowed to become inflated to the point of almost certain letdown when I do finally play the game on March 30th. But this video isn't about my good intentions but misguided hype. No, this video is about playing a video game with a keyboard, which I've tried before. It's really, really hard. I don't understand how they do this. It's so hard. So hard. Disco Elysium is a CRPG, which stands for Computer Role-Playing Game, which is kind of like a regular role-playing game, except that it hates you. I have nothing against CRPGs or the people who play them. I'm just personally incapable of remembering so many damn buttons. It really just comes down to that, I think. CRPGs are incredibly intimidating for a lifelong console gamer like myself, also known as a too poor to have a gaming PC as a kid gamer. So my life defaulted to console games, and my unwillingness to try other things kept that default the standard for my entire life. There are other reasons I prefer console gaming, which I detail in another video linked below. You should definitely check that out. But honestly, as stupid as it sounds, the keyboard, it just scares me. I mean, I use a keyboard all day, every day, but I freeze up as soon as you tell me to use those keys, not to hastily shoot off angry emails to coworkers, and instead tell me to make the person on screen shoot angrily at zombies who were probably once that person's coworkers. But I really, really want to embrace keyboard gaming. There's a whole world of gaming possibilities out there that I've shielded myself away from, simply because I understand that keyboards should not be used for gaming. No, really, I want to learn the ways of the keyboard, which is why I'm buying Disco Elysium on Google Stadia. I've made plenty of videos on this channel about Google Stadia. Most have been positive, some have been critical. And one of the features I like about Google Stadia, but haven't really used it in any practical sense, is that Stadia games are mapped to both controllers and to keyboards by default. Every game can be played using either a controller or a keyboard with no need to install drivers. Additionally, the on-screen button icons change instantly based on which input method you use. There's no confusion on the player's end. And I have a video on this channel that explores this incredible feature, which if you want to have your mind blown, I suggest you watch it. And if you don't want to have your mind blown, why are you even watching this channel? I mean, blowing minds is what I do. A few times on this channel. I've done that. Disco Elysium, the final cut, is coming for the first time to consoles and Google Stadia very soon. And as it's coming to consoles, the buttons will be mapped for controller input. So sure, I could buy the game on PS4, but if I do that, I'm locked to the controller input. Many fans of Disco Elysium that I've spoken to have concerns about how well the controller inputs will work. Disco Elysium feels like a game that should be experienced with a mouse and keyboard. And with that in mind, I want to give myself the ability to play the game the way it's probably best experienced, that being with a keyboard and a mouse. But I also want the freedom to recognize what a horrible mistake I've made. And so like a middle school Caleb walking onto the football field for the first time, I will probably regret everything that has led up to the moment of realization. But unlike that young weakling Caleb 2 minutes from unconsciousness, old weakling Caleb, this guy, doesn't have to just close his eyes and wait for the train to hit. Old weakling Caleb can simply plug in a controller and relax, knowing he'll never again have to stand in front of a 180-pound 7th grade keyboard with an unhealthy thirst for conquest. You're not impressing anyone, keyboard. I'm weak. It would be weird if I didn't black out when you tackled me. You're basically trying to prove how strong you are by lifting an empty milk jug. I know I've built up Disco Elysium in my head. I know it's unfair to charge this game with showing me the glory that is keyboard and mouse input for a video game. I know that if I end up not liking the game, it will be too easy for me to blame the keyboard. And that's why playing Disco Elysium on Google Stadia seems like such a perfect way to experience the game. If I'm too dumb to use the keyboard, I can switch to the controls. If I don't like the game, I can switch to controls to see if maybe the keyboard really is to blame. Playing Disco Elysium on Google Stadia feels like a proper experiment, complete with a variable, which is of course the keyboard and mouse, and control. Literally. And so I'm really looking forward to experiencing a CRPG in the way that CRPGs are meant to be experienced, with crippling finger pain and hostile frustration. Oh man, it's gonna be so fun. Have you played Disco Elysium? If so, am I building it up in my head too much? Is it unfair to make Disco Elysium be the CRPG experience that shows me the wonder of mouse and keyboard gaming? Let me know in the comments below, and please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to make sure you don't miss future videos. If you're still watching this video, you obviously like it, right? So it only makes sense to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel.